Okay, thank you guys for tuning in. Hello, good to see you. Welcome, one and all, young and tall. Um, so, um, as you guys already know, and people who watch this later, I had the misfortune of installing Snap Camera on my computer, and as it happened today, I've committed to doing the Johncast with this weird um, overlay, this weird thing. It will change me into whatever. Now I'm like Satan from that Mark Twain claymation YouTube video. Hello, my child. So this is what I have to deal with. I've selected the least offensive filter, and that's what we're going to go with. So, but yeah, so we're going to get into the Johncast here. Update, here's some interesting stuff. I officially do have asthma. I was on the trail for a while. I didn't know. I didn't know if I actually had asthma. And in fact, I was pretty darn spooked because here's what happened. Here's the trail of breadcrumbs that I've been following. Here is a list of my suspicions. I read that the Wuhan Chinese coronavirus could have been here as early as November of 2019. Okay? I don't think that's confirmed, but I was reading that it could have been here as early as November. Because here's the thing, like Rachel, my wife, she got sick and it came really fast and it hit really hard and then it kind of dissipated. But the symptoms all seemed to be pretty close to coronavirus. And so we were wondering, like, did Rachel have the coronavirus? Because when she got sick, I don't play around when it comes to getting sick. So I was like, I love you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to baby you, but I'm sleeping on the couch. And so I did my good husbandly duties, but I slept on the couch. I self-quarantined within the house. And it went away, but I didn't get sick. And as it normally happens, I get sick whenever she gets sick too. You know, like that's just the way it goes, usually living together. And so then we come to learn that the coronavirus, you can be a carrier, but be asymptomatic. And so my hypothesis is that Rachel got coronavirus, symptomatic. I got coronavirus, asymptomatic. Now, here's the other little bridge. Well, the scary implication there, first of all, is that we could have spread the coronavirus, or I guess I could have, because I was asymptomatic. And it was before we even really knew about the coronavirus. You know, this was January and February. So the scary idea is that before all the quarantine and that started, I inadvertently contributed to spreading it. You know, that's a scary idea that somebody's grandpa or sick cousin or friend died because you touched the wrong package of ramen noodles, you know, in the grocery store or something. Yeah, and we've had a lot of Rachel's family in New York get coronavirus, and they're fine. Luckily, my father-in-law, Michael, he has lupus, and so when he apparently didn't get the coronavirus. It was something else, or maybe it was. In either case, it scared the heck out of us. Because kind of like Michael, my stepdad, and kind of like my dad. Like if my dad got coronavirus, like full-blown corunca, he could literally die. Like he has a dead diaphragm, and I worry about that boy. But anywho, so the bridge over to asthma is I got sick. But I didn't get sick like Rachel did. I got sick and then I got better, but the cough stayed. And that started to worry me. It was January, it was February, it was March, and I still had this cough. And especially like from February on, I would get the tightening of the airway. It felt like I was breathing through a pack of straws. And it was worse at night. It was worse in the cold. And so reading, it's like all of this fits asthma, adult onset asthma, all of this fits. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I've got the shadow of my dead brother lurking over me because he had a chronic cough for about a year and he didn't go to the hospital. He didn't go get it checked out. And by the time he did, it was too late. The cancer was way too advanced. And so I've got in the back of my head, anytime I get sick, is it cancer? Is it cancer? Is it cancer? Because God help me, I do not want to die like that. I'll die any other way. I'll die in a car wreck. I'll die of a heart attack. I'll be stabbed by a pack of primates, monkey knife fighting. I was remembering today, you ever get sporks or forks, plastic forks, and you do the thing where you hold hands and you have to like try to stab each other, and whoever breaks the fork off or spork or spoon off on the other person, they win. So I've got monkey knife fighting on the head, in the mind. What a weird way to phrase that. Yeah. So, anyways, I went to so fun fact: Rachel and I are poor. We're poor. So I went to like the family clinic where all the poor people go instead of like St. Mark's Hospital. I went to like the cheapo family clinic, and they gave me the test and they ran me through the breathing exercises and stuff. And it just, it was not helpful. Like they gave me albuterol, they gave me this, and that helped, but it was like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. It always came back. It didn't actually help. So anyways, I ended up going to the an allergist because I was like, I've had enough. I'm getting this taken care of. So I finally went to a proper allergist, went through the tests and everything. And he's like, it could be cancer. It could be anything, but every tick on the box tells me this is asthma. So I think I have asthma. So there you go. But yeah, I'm taking 2 puffs every morning and night. I went through these pills. They're gone now, but apparently I should have my life back because it was really freaking bad. It was really affecting just about every aspect of my life. And now I just have a little bit of phlegm every once in a while. So yay, my singing career isn't over. Anyways, this is my podcast. I'm going to talk about my health when I want to. So there you go. But yeah, we'll talk about getting signed. Boy, I have a picture on my phone. When Dire Peril got on the tour with Sirenia and Threat Signal and Valinor Excelsior, that was our first major tour. That was the first tour that I did with an actual big boy band, And after that, we went on a tour with Seven Kingdoms, and that's still kind of big boy, Seven Kingdoms, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But I have a picture on here of me when we got the actual tour confirmed with that band, Sirenia. When we got that tour confirmed, I broke down crying. I cried. I cried for must have been 10 minutes, just sitting there crying, sitting in the living room. And it was because all of this hard work finally came to something, something measurable. I've come to find that getting a guest vocalist, even like Hansi Kirsch, is no guarantee that you're going to do anything with your life. Any jackass can get a big guest vocalist or a big guest musician on their, project or band. And that's not saying anything against it. It's awesome. It's a dream come true. I'm just saying, as far as like, wow, this is a real step forward in our career. It's like a guy sang on your album. That's awesome. That's going to up your credibility. It's going to get you a wider audience. You're going to have longer lasting traffic on YouTube, because whenever somebody types in Hansi Kirsch guest, your band is going to come up. But just case in point, I mean, the two first ones that come to mind is Dysphoria got Hansi Kirsch to guest for The Age of Ether, and that did wonders for us for the level that we were at. You know, it's not like we took off and immediately became this big famous band, but it brought us a lot. It brought us a lot. But it wasn't enough. And I even think Tribuzzi, if you know Tribuzzi, they got Bruce Dickinson to not only perform on the album, but Bruce Dickinson came and performed with them at a show in Brazil. And Tribuzzi put out one album, and that's it. One album. So as monumental and personally important as it was that I got to work with Hansi twice, I don't feel like it really pushed us forward. But when we got on this tour with Sirenia, that was like, okay, this is something, you know? This is not on the computer. This is in motion. This is movement. This is actual logistics and money, you know? So I sat down and I cried for like 10 minutes. And maybe I'll post the picture someday. I just thought, this is a moment I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I have to take a picture. And I did. And it was interesting. So anyways, there's that. Having had that shock of, whoa, we toured with Sirenia. It's kind of like these little highs. It's like, okay, so we get Hansi Kirsch to guest. Whoa! And okay, then it dies down. Okay. Whoa! We're touring with Sirenia. Whoa! Okay, you know, that wasn't like Dire Peril is now a major band and like we're getting all these tour opportunities. It's like, no, Dire Peril is still at that level, and that's fine. And now I didn't have the big reaction, I think, because I feel, okay, this is another one of those things where it's like, whoa! Oh, we're signed to a major record label. It's a life-changing experience. Yeah, but also it's like, it's not over, and it's not like this is just automatically going to get us on Wacken or 70 Tons of Metal. It could, who knows? I'm sure it can help. And what I can say is, having spoken with Tony at great length, I'm grateful because I have very realistic expectations for what this record deal is going to do. It is a record deal, and that's it. Like we are producing albums, and anything beyond that, and they already have gone beyond, and for that I'm very grateful, because that shows me that they actually believe in us. I feel like they wouldn't put all of this extra money into us if they didn't feel like we would pay off for them, if we wouldn't be worth it. So that's validating. But yeah, I feel like I have very realistic expectations for what this is going to do for Judicator. I mean, Paladin signed, and they played Prog Power last year. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday, so it's not like they were like one of the major bands, but still, if we played Prog Power on Wednesday or Thursday, I think that would still be the biggest show we've ever played. The biggest show I've ever played, though, so far is Mad with Power. And that's another one of those things where it's like, I'm never forgetting Mad with Power. I'm not trying to stroke Ty off or anything, although I wouldn't turn it down. But no, I just I've had a number of big shows, but Mad with Power was like the first one where it's like everything was run tight, kind, and professional. And I use those words very deliberately, because I've been to shows that were kind, but they were run very sloppily. And I've been to shows that were professional, but they weren't kind. And so that holy trinity of things really contributed to leaving a lasting impression on me about Mad with Power. So I'm really excited that I get to come back again with Dire Peril. And so that's going to be a lot of fun because I'm selfish. I want to get as much as I can. And also something that you guys have already seen, of course, but God bless him, Joey, the showrunner for Hyperspace, Judicator played last year at Hyperspace, and now we're playing again this year. And I realize I think it's a lot due to helping him out because I don't think Power Glove is on anymore. So I know he had Power Glove. Like that would have been really amazing. So I feel so bad, not just for Joey in Hyperspace, but for all of these performances and get-togethers, and just the Karunka sucks, man. It really sucks. And you know, we want to preserve life, but at the same time, it's like there's nothing wrong with admitting that we want to get the economy back up. So yeah, that's really disappointing. But yeah, so I mean, what's happened with Hyperspace is I feel a little bit weird because to play 2 years in a row, it's like you don't want to overstay your welcome. You know, I'm sure it's going to be a very warm reception for Judicator, but still, it's like, as much as I love Blind Guardian, if Blind Guardian played in Salt Lake every year, I would go see them every year, I think, but it wouldn't be like, oh, Blind Guardian's coming. You know, it'd be like, oh, nice. Yeah, let's go see Blind Guardian. So, yeah. And that's why I don't feel too awkward about Mad with Power, because it's like kind of a Judicator, then Dire Peril, and then maybe who knows how many years, and then it'll happen again, and then it'll be fresh again. But I'm really excited about Hyperspace because yes, we're finally Hyperspace. We're gonna have Helium Prime, Dire Peril, and Judicator, and that's like a family reunion. That's like a family party, and we're gonna have the I was gonna say the Balmore boys. Oh no, the Novarain guys too. That's gonna be exciting. Yeah, so let's see. Ty says 2021 will be a full Ty plus John opera set. That's how we'll get you back. Don't tempt me, because I literally would do that. I know you're kidding, but I take things seriously like that sometimes. Not saying I'm taking that seriously, Ty, but I'm just saying you joke, but I process. So anyways, like how this gets us to Nightwish, though, is the question already strikes me. The question that was voted on was the steady decline in quality of Nightwish albums, and what was the catalyst for it? Excuse me. And I thought about this because the first thing that actually came to mind with this question, the steady decline in quality of Nightwish albums, and what was the catalyst for it, was Metallica. Because similar accusations have been leveled against Metallica. And I think, okay, what's the difference between Nightwish and Metallica then, in my mind? And I'm not the biggest Nightwish fan, but I did my homework as best I could, and I pointed out where I feel things started to change. Maybe not for the worse. So as I go forward, bear in mind, I'm not talking smack about Nightwish. Nightwish is just not my cup of tea, really. And I'm just going to be describing what I noticed. So first of all, my impression of Metallica and the similar accusations that get leveled against them is like, I enjoy all of Metallica's music, with the exemption of maybe Saint Anger, and I really want to like Death Magnetic, but it's kind of like Sleepy Plesso. I can only listen to Death Magnetic for like 2 or 3 songs, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta take a break. My ears are going to hurt if I listen to another song. So, but as far as the music goes, I really like it, and I liked their last album. What was it called? Hardwired to self-destruct. Hardwired to self-destruct. I liked that. Like a moth to the flame. But the thing is, here's the difference, and here's why I bring up Metallica. Because you got like Load, Reload, their Southern country sounding kind of stuff. I really like that. Like Metallica does it well. That's my feeling on the matter. And to me, that is a valid exploration of your creativity. I think it's unfair of us to expect Metallica to be punk thrash all the time, you know, throughout their entire career, like to do the same thing. It's like, no, that's unfair. Even Opeth, I was like, just leave them alone. Let them do what they want. Quit bitching and moaning. But okay, so changing for the sake of your creative expression versus changing as a result of time constraints and deadlines, lack of time, which is the same kind of thing, lack of inspiration, same kind of thing. And here's where I welcome correction from people who are actually like Nightwish fans. But I went through and I listened to their discography, as much of it as I could anyways. I listened to all albums, but I'm not saying I listened to every album all the way through. I do have my favorites. I mean, Wishmaster and Century Child I quite like. But here's what I noticed, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it feels like to me that Nightwish had a very unique identity. They had a very unique sound, and they were something unique. And it feels like to me, I'm being very deliberate with my language, it feels like, I'm not saying this is the way it is, it feels like to me Dark Passion Play is where things started to change. I totally welcome a discussion here in the comments. It seems to me that things changed with Dark Passion Play. I think it's a fine album, but Imaginarium, Endless Forms, Most Beautiful, and Human Nature struck me as good. And there were just kind of interesting choices, like getting Richard Dawkins to do guest vocals. Richard Dawkins on guest vocals. I found that to be pretty funny. But the sound changes noticeably as well. It feels like to me the sound changes noticeably when you get into the mid-2000s with Nightwish. And the other thing too, and this is not related to the music, but I see it as a symptom of something. I really do. I can't put my finger on it, but again, Dark Passion Play also marks the point at which if you were to show me the album cover, I would have no idea what that is. Like, Dark Passion Play. I have no idea what this album cover is not telling me anything about what this band is. But you look at Once, Century Child, Wishmaster, it's like, okay, we've got sort of like a goth, fantasy feeling. You know, the weird nerd girls in high school who would wear corsets and stuff. So it's like, it feels like their earlier catalog had more of like a unique identity. And like I said, I like Dark Passion Play and Imaginarium. I didn't really care for Endless Forms, Most Beautiful. It was good. And Human Nature, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. And it's interesting because I think of Rammstein as well. Rammstein's first albums all the way up until Rosenrot. Rosenrot was the last album where I feel they were actually trying, but Rammstein now feels like they're just relying on shock and they're relying on the same kind of standard rock beats and all that kind of thing. I like Rammstein, and there were songs on their last few albums that I do like, but it doesn't have that same magic. It doesn't have that same magic. And I noticed the same thing with Nightwish. It feels like both Rammstein and Nightwish started out with these unique personalities, And as they grew and got bigger, they turned into Coca-Cola. They turned into Budweiser. They turned into Hershey's. It's good. I'll drink a Budweiser. I'll drink a Coke. I'll eat a Hershey's bar. But it's good. That's all I can say. And I tie this into Judicator now because we have to produce, what is it? Every 2 years, a new album is due. We have a 3-album deal. So we delivered the album to them in December or January. I could be totally wrong on that. Sometimes I have the memory of a goldfish. The production for Let There Be Nothing was a blur to me because it was hectic. It was more hectic than usual, and that's because my life was hectic, more hectic than usual. But let's just say December. So 2 Decembers from now, we have to deliver another album. And 2 Decembers from that, we have to deliver another album. 3 albums, there's your deal. So it's just like there's a lot of pressure. You've got to make darn sure that you deliver when you have to deliver. And not just that, but that it's good. I think of, what is it called? I forget the Gamma Ray album. I think it was Gamma Ray's last album. But they have a song on there where Kai Hansen is singing about like, the label's calling, boys, are you done? Deadline is up, time to deliver. I think that's the line, but that's what's being communicated for sure. And I'm like, Gamma Ray is singing about their album being due to the record label. And again, it's like the last couple of Gamma Ray albums were good. They were good. They had some songs that were really good. But that's the fear. And this happens with Gravedigger too. This happens with a lot of bands where it feels like the more they go into the deep end of like career and life and band and that kind of thing, they'll release an album and there will be like 3, maybe 4 really good songs on the album. And the rest are like, yeah, that's good. Like Gravedigger. I feel like two Gravediggers. I feel like 2 songs are really good on each Gravedigger album, with the exemption of like their first handful of albums. And so the fear is that this will happen to Judicator. And I'm like, not on my watch. Not on my watch. No. And I think Judicator may have a built-in, what would you call it, fail-safe against this kind of thing happening. Because, look, I don't know. A lot of people do care about lyrics, but a lot of people don't. Like, they just want the catchy phrases and the pleasant melodies, and good lyrics are a bonus. And I respect that, because I don't want every listening experience I have to be like I'm reading Dostoevsky, you know? I mean, I listen to the Beatles. Goo goo gaga, we live under the sea. Everyone's happy, la la la. It's fun. I love the Beatles. Not everything has to be super deep and serious. But for me, our music is one of the few things in life that's really mine. And I get to say what happens. I'm in the captain's chair with the lyrics. And so I really care about it, because it is one of the most pure expressions of who I am that I can put out there, that I can manifest, that I can create. And so, Balmore says, please impersonate the Beatles more often. I'm under the ocean in an octopus's lair. He's eating my asshole. Okay. But yeah, so the fail-safe that I think Judicator may have against creative deadening is we already have the next album written. Tony's going to make some changes and updates and stuff, but the next album's already written. The music's already there. And he already has like 2 or 3 other like rough sketches of what another album could be. He just has so much already there. And it's not like he worked on a ton and now it's just sitting there. It's like he's always kind of tinkering and working on stuff. So, and myself, I have been working on the concept for this next album since late 2018. So I'm hoping that because Judicator is always so like ahead, our music and our lyrics can always be really meaningful and really good quality. And because we have Balmore here in the chat too, and he's in the band now, which I'm really excited for, because Balmore's a really positive force. He's a really positive person that you want on your team, but he's also very soulful, and he's honest, and he's good at guitar. And that kind of summarizes. I'm really interested in getting to know Yuli as well, but I had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with Balmore on tour with Dire Peril, the Sirenia tour it was. So that was really, really special time, and I hope to have more of those days. Let's see. I'll take some questions because I see there's a few. Actually, the big one is Ty. Ty says, question, since you do a lot of albums about real historical events, do you find it easier or harder to write lyrics with those themes? That's an interesting thing because I'm constantly reading. I'm always reading something. And so I think because I'm reading a lot and I'm always interested in that kind of thing, I have a selection. But it's not just about a selection because it's about what resonates. Like Napoleon resonated with me at that time for a reason, because I was going through things that were similar or what I felt were similar. Same with Frederick the Great. You know, I read Frederick the Great and I'm like, okay, you know, he's an awesome logistician. He's good with supply chains and stuff. He's really good at management and administration, and he's a very like revolutionary battle commander. Okay, but that can be said for a lot of people. Ah, but you mean to tell me that Frederick the Great's father was a really hard-nosed, abusive asshole who murdered his best friend? As somebody who has daddy issues himself, I really resonated with Frederick the Great. And the Last Emperor, it's like, for how our country started to change from 2014, 2015, definitely 2016 onward, it's no wonder that I became really interested and personally attached to the effects of groupthink and the effects of culture war. So it's no wonder the Crusades was an appealing topic. So it really, like, as far as like writing lyrics with these themes goes, my experience is that whatever resonates with me at the time resonates with me for a reason. And because I have that inner fuel that's already waiting there, it's just going to take off. So I'll be reading 5 things, and I get to Belisarius. Whoa! Takes off. Because Belisarius, again, it's like, okay, he's a really great battle commander. Again, like Frederick the Great, very smart, very scrupulous with like managing supply chains and making the best out of a bad situation. I could go on and on about all the good things about Belisarius, like externally, you know. But his wife cheated on him with his own godson? And he didn't kill her? When everybody else would have totally understood if he killed her. Like, nobody really would have batted an eye. The Empress Theodora would have been pissed because she was friends with Antonina, so Belisarius might have lost his position, but nobody would have blamed him for killing his wife, for cheating on him with his own godson. And bear in mind, too, we talked about St. Olga of Kiev a handful of episodes ago. So if you were there then, I can refresh you if you want, but bear in mind, when you enter into the relationship of godparent, godchild, in the church, that's viewed as an actual family bond now. So not only was it was essentially like his wife cheated on him with his own son in a way. And that gets us into like all the psychology behind that gets manifested in all of our storytelling. That's a common theme. The son rising up and killing the father. What is that? Saturn killed his father, Uranus. Saturn killed Uranus, I think, and then he devoured his own child because he found that he was estranged from his own power, because part of his power was his birthright, but then he killed his birthright, and so in order to cut the cycle off, he had to eat and devour his own children. I forget the children's names, but I'm a little rusty on my Greek mythology. Anywho, point being, Belisarius really resonated with me because here's a guy who has been shat on by the world, shat on by the emperor, shat on by all of these experiences that he's having, and shat on by the one person who should be his best friend and battle buddy, his wife. And that wasn't the case. So I felt myself struggling with morality a lot at the time. I found Belisarius' story to be very relevant and very resonating. Yes, always call your significant other your battle buddy. Mr. Time Lord says, a lot of bands just coast for a while once they have their big albums, and some don't. Blind Guardian, in a way, has been coasting since A Night at the Opera. I disagree, but I see where you're coming from. And the reason I say that I see where you're coming from is only that it just, I would never talk to this. I would never talk to Hansi about this. I would never even talk about this in general. But if I'm being really nitpicky about Blind Guardian, number one, I really dislike the way that their album art has been going since At the Edge of Time. It's kind of like the Nightwish thing. It's like this album artwork tells me next to nothing about what I'm in for. Beyond the Red Mirror, as an album art, tells me nothing about what this album is. At the Edge of Time kind of does, but kind of not. So I don't know. We'll see. I think they recovered with Legacy of the Darklands because that is not an album cover I've seen. I've not seen anything like that. And musically, here I'm getting really nitpicky, but just musically, I feel like there's just a little bit of something that they're holding back. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're holding back. I don't know what it is I want out of them still. But we'll see. I haven't heard anything. Yeah, because I I got Beyond the Red Mirror early, so but I didn't get Legacy of the Darklands early, so we'll see. Al Baker says, this just came to mind, but did that duel with the bear depicted in Nothing But Blood actually happen? If so, was it literal or symbolic? Funny that you bring this up. As with a lot of events from centuries ago, I'm not aware of any hardcore evidence that this did happen, that Godfrey de Bouillon did fight a bear to defend a pilgrim And I don't know how much evidence there is of that. But what I do know is that it was written about and it was reported, because that is, if I remember right, the reason given for why he was injured and why he could not participate in the battles during that time, up until the siege of Jerusalem. So, um, kind of like, just because I'm really in scripture mode because of my thesis, what I'll say is I think we really sometimes do not give credit to oral tradition as a means of communicating information. Humans have been doing this since beyond recorded history. And yes, you're going to see deviations, updates, embellishments, that kind of thing. But I think there's no good reason, to my knowledge, to deny or to disbelieve that Godfrey of Bouillon really had that experience. Yeah, and it was interesting because I was actually listening to The Last Emperor recently, and Nothing But Blood is kind of, I feel like Nothing But Blood kind of was, all killer, no filler. Like I kind of get the impression that some people didn't really care for Nothing But Blood, but when I listened to it, I'm like, no, dude, this is a cool song. I like it. But it got me thinking of, yes, okay, this is what I noticed. The interesting thing is when you're neck deep writing lyrics, for me at least, it's like you've got all these songs with their identities, and you want to weave throughout all of the songs a common thread or multiple common threads that contribute to the greater arc of the story. And so one of these threads that I was playing with is, we share the blood of ancient beasts. In Nothing But Blood, we share the blood of ancient beasts, and even with the fauna and flora, just kind of like giving a little bit of a nod to evolution and shared ancestry and that kind of thing. And there's probably something in there to do with how bestial people can be. And I only picked up on, I wonder how much of that was conscious and how much of it was just me wanting to play with the theme. But you notice in Nothing But Blood, that thread pops up. And should I go to the lyrics? Yeah, let's do it. We'll go to Judicator lyrics, and we'll probably get darklyrics.com, I imagine. Yep. That's kind of fun. I remember when I was just a boy. Oh, they don't even have it updated. Well, when I was a boy and I would go to lyrics, and Dark Lyrics would be where I would get my lyrics. And now I'm on there. That means I'm famous. Yay! Metal Archives. That'll be a good place. Bear with me. I just want to make sure that if we go over this lyrical thread, then we give it its due justice. Hey, Let There Be Nothing is already on Metal Archives. Look at that. Nothing but blood, a line of heretics woven through the fabric of life. Okay, where's this blood stuff? Because it's nothing but blood. It's just blood everywhere, man. Here we go. Morning dew and beams of the sunrise. This is life. I'm one with the landscape. We're on the hunt, just like our ancestors. All right, so there's an allusion to the past. Seal the bond between man and beast alike. And coming from a family of hunters, I got into hunting. I went on hunting trips, but I was never the person who had the tag, who had the permission of the Forest and Wildlife Service to shoot an animal. But I went through the training, the classes, all that. But anywho, so we're on the hunt, just like our ancestors. Seal the bond between man and beast alike. The thing you notice in hunter culture is it's not like the stereotypical anti-hunters will make it out to be. Hunter culture has a very special bond with the wildlife, with the prey. It's not something abusive, you're going to find that. You're going to find poachers. You're going to find pieces of shit wherever you go, whatever culture you get into. But hunter culture in general is something that is really special because it ties into part of what our roots are all about. It ties into who we are as a species. And so this to me communicates that there is a special bond between man and beast as hunters, as prey, and as preservers. And that's something that especially, like, I know there's plenty to criticize on the hunting, I don't want to say industry, but the conservation efforts in hunting that takes place in Africa. It's like, okay, I mean, we kind of talked about this in 2 podcasts ago, but basically it's like, if you just hunt everything that there is, there's not going to be anything in 20 years. You're going to have a Great Plains buffalo situation. So that's why, like, especially in a place like Africa that has to deal with poachers going after ivory and stuff like that, hunting is a very valid way to help fund these communities so that they have a vested economic interest in preserving these populations from poachers. It's something that benefits everybody. Anyways, I'm getting into hunting apologetics. James Hetfield and I would get along on that, I'm sure. But anywho, such silence. The moment is shattered by a helpless scream. Nothing but blood, united through the ties of common faunal bloodlines. Okay, there's your third one, technically. United through the ties of common faunal bloodlines. Flora, plants, fauna, animals. So we're united through these ties not only of economics, like I'm the hunter, you're the prey. We're not only united through that, but we're also united through blood, however distant that may be. Nothing but blood, a line of heritage woven through the fabric of life. A line of heritage. There you go. Out of breath and now paralyzed by the stunning sight of a brown bear so fearsome, its cornered prey, a scavenging pilgrim. Pounding heart, adrenaline starts to course. I don't know. I can belabor this and go through the whole thing, but I don't think we need to go through. I think you get the point. But it's interesting. The reason I find this interesting, and maybe why I'm so animated and excited about this, is it's something I hadn't really thought about until it registered, and I noticed it a few days ago. Sorry. But yeah, the last thing I'll say is it pops up again in It Falls to Jerusalem. We share the blood of ancient beasts. Where is that line? And feel it throb in every wound that I took on. Balance me! There you go. So it's talking about Bohemond, who kind of screwed everybody else out of command of Antioch. Bohemond, clever and sly, he arranged to steal away command of Antioch. You'd break the oath you swore to return what was theirs? I call you coward to cheat Alexios, emperor of Byzantium. Purged of my own guilt, and yet I feel no peace of mind. We share the same blood as the beasts. There you go. That's where it pops up again. So that's not like a super important, prominent theme in the album, but it's noteworthy. It kind of goes from this hunting, respect, kind of common heritage thing to, we do share the blood of ancient beasts. Jane Goodall, I think it was, who noted that chimpanzees will literally go to war against each other. So it's like, this stuff doesn't come from anywhere. This stuff doesn't come from nowhere. So it's just interesting where we are similar to beasts and where we differ. And that gets us into the nature of evil and the philosophical and theological, whatever. Harley says, John revisiting themes. Imagine that. Ha, 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 ha. Yes. Hello, Francisco. Hello. Okay, where are we at? Let's go down the list. Those were the big things that I wanted to talk about on this Johncast. We're going to go through the rest and do questions or shoot the shit, whatever. I'm swearing a lot today. Calm down, John. Calm down. Ease up. Where are my vocal tracks for the Helium Prime song? Asks Jason. I already sent him to you, you turkey. You dangus. You already got him. It's pretty good. Of course! I talked with Jason about this afterwards. But of course, I would guest sing on the Helium Prime song that's about an abbot. I forget who it's about. That's my bad. But it's like, oh, of course. And he was like, oh, that was a total accident. I just thought this is a real John song. And I'm like, of course it's the one with the abbot. Francisco says, can we get a sneak peek? No, I'm sorry. I really want to. And here's the thing. If you're talking about Judicator, if we were not signed to Prosthetic, I would give you a sneak peek. But I uploaded lyrics. So I'm on the Metal Archives page. I uploaded lyrics to 2 of our other songs that are not yet released for Let There Be Nothing. And it got brought up to me. Not by the label, but it was noticed, we'll say. And it's not like anybody was in trouble. It's just like it was noticed. So I'm like, okay, gotta go by the books on this one. But I put the lyrics up there, and we had this conversation. But it's like I wanted to be the one to put the lyrics on Metal Archives because I care about how the lyrics are presented and how they are ingested, how they are like read. You know, it's important to me that you read it the way that it should be read, because I would safely say I spent hundreds of hours. I think over 100 hours. I spent a lot of time on this. Something with this album too is so there's 8 songs, and this all lines up with an 8-act story structure of like filmmaking. So a lot goes into these albums. Make no mistake. Yeah. The song that I'm doing for Helium Prime is really cool though. Because I gotta check off another. There's a lot of musicians I want to work with. And I've wanted to work with Helium Prime for a long time directly. I know I kind of, Jason, but Mary Zimmer, really looking forward to that. If Ty is still here, he's another person that I really want to get on a song of mine or to be on a song of theirs. I got Brittany Slays. There's a handful of them. This one's a little unorthodox. Well, there's 2. Of course, I want Dolly Parton. I love Dolly Parton, but the singer for Necrogoblicon, I really like him. He has a really gross, disgusting voice, and I love it. Okay, so that's Jason's. Harley asks the subtle art of having a great question before the poll goes up, but then forgetting what it was once it does. Gotta write it down. I write a lot of things down. I wasn't super prepared for last podcast, which was my fault, but I'm going to be producing some content when I get things a little more in order, and it's going to be good. And actually, I'm working on it with Francisco, so that's exciting because I've always liked his art a lot. So we're going to have some really cute, informative, good stuff coming May. We have 2 videos that I want to kick out per month, so let's see if we can get that done. Ty actually asked, stranded on a desert island with 3 never-ending, always refilling barrels of food. Any food, even prepared meals. What are they? I wrote this one down because it's very specific and I care about food a lot. So I had to make sure that it was written down. I would have to go with meals. Stranded on a desert island I get any prepared meal I want at any time. It's a dispenser. This is my one luxury on this island. Besides my Wilson volleyball fleshlight. Wilson! Ah! The foods are chicken and waffles with a side of eggs and a bowl of fruit, plus strawberry crepes. Chicken and waffles, honey mustard, barbecue sauce, boysenberry syrup, maple syrup. Ooh, ooh, with a side of eggs. I get to choose however the eggs are made, by the way, too. Plus a bowl of fruit, mixed fruit, of course, plus strawberry crepes. Okay, next meal. Medium rare ribeye steak with a side of rice and a Caesar salad. Self-explanatory. You're never going to be able to turn down a steak, because something about this too, if I'm stuck on this island, it needs to be repeatable. It needs to be something that I could always, eat. Then the third one, because it's a staple. I'm sorry. I got to go with a jalapeno double cheeseburger with sweet potato fries and one of them big ass pickles. Gimme. And the runner-up, what I was going to choose, the runner-up, it was almost there, was meatloaf with steamed vegetables. And I guess, I don't know, a side of rice, but I already have a side of rice on that one. So if I get one other side, maybe coleslaw or steamed carrot. No, I already have steamed vegetables. Anyways, that's the one. Okay. More veggies, John. That's true. Dude, so speaking of veggies, Easter's over. Blessed Pascha. But Lent. During the 40 days of Lent, no consumption of meat. And technically, you're not supposed to have animal products either. But wanting to feel good, like I succeeded, like I didn't faceplant and just fail, I said, look, I'm not going to be, I don't think I can realistically be vegan for 40 days. So I'm going to say no meat for Lent. No meat. And of course I stumbled. But by and large, it was a really good success. And the reason that's noteworthy, especially since Stacy said more veggies, is because I've been eating a lot of veggies. But I will say, I'll try not to be too graphic. Let's just say that once that fast was broken, I binged on meat, and I had some very interesting poops. And now I'm back to the whole positive, the whole gist of it that's good is like, I have a lot of vegetables now. I like vegetables. I like them a lot. They are good to eat. Osher said, give the people what they want. Snoopy versus Garfield in a steel cage match to the death. To which I say, Osher, we already covered this last time. We determined, well, the one source that we were reading determined that they killed each other and it was a draw. I don't think so. Between Snoopy and Garfield, I still believe that Garfield would win. Garfield plays dirty. He has more girth. Garfield is gonna win. That's what I would put my money on. So watch the John cast, you turkey, or don't. Jesse Lynn says, what news about the re-recording of Sleepy Plesso? Yes, we are going to be re-recording Sleepy Plesso. Because like we were talking about Metallica earlier, Death Magnetic, and how the dynamic range, or lack thereof, is such that you can only listen to like 2 or 3 songs and you're like, oh, okay, I gotta take my earbuds out. My ears are starting to hurt. Same kind of thing with Sleepy Plesso. And we've just learned so much about production and getting good quality like sound. And King of Rome has its production quirks, but Sleepy Plesso is one where like there was really that So I'm really excited that we are going to be re-recording it. My understanding is that the guitars are already tracked. I'm not sure if Balmore and Yuli will be performing on that. I would hope so, but we haven't had that conversation yet. I think we should have them. That would be the right thing to do. Oh yeah, I can show you this. Okay, Harley says I've listened to the first 2 Judicator albums at least 80 times each on full. No idea what you're talking about. Good. Maybe it's just a nitpick then. Anyways, the other exciting thing about Sleepy Plesso is guest vocalists, because there's so many in that album. And, you know, some choices were made that I think were made out of necessity and not preference. So there are some choices that I would like to make. I haven't brought this up with anybody in the band yet, but this is just my preference for what I would like to do. I would love to have Russell Plyer from Everthrone. I love his sweet, creamy vocals. I would like to get Sabrina Cruz and Sarah Teets, because there's a number of female guest vocals on this album. I want to have Austin come back, Austin Bentley from Fervence, Machines of Man. I want to get Paul Black from Turned to Stone to come back. I want to have Chad Anderson take on more vocals. We had some guy named Alex Hinnerman do vocals, and I want Chad to do them. The vocals didn't come out so good. I also want David Brown and Matt Kreis from Shadow Strike. And I think it would also be cool to get the other Everthrone boy. To get that boy on there, the keyboardist. Anywho. Yeah, so the Sleepy Plesso album is going to be happening. I imagine it will be released next year. My guess would be the fall. I don't know, though. We haven't really talked about that. My understanding is the guitars are done. Once I get the album, though, yeah, Chris from Everthrone. Love that boy. He's a good boy. Anthony asks, why Chinese food is worth its weight in gold right now? I have no idea. I wasn't aware of that. If that's an inside joke or something, I'm not tuned into it. Yeah. Stacy asks, so would you keep the original album and the reworked one, or just straight up replace it? You can't ever get rid of... I mean, the original version is out there, so it's not going anywhere. It'll always be there. But yeah, I think as far as like if we do CDs or vinyl, I expect we'll be only producing the updated version. Maybe the old version can be some kind of neat special thing. Last question is your view on sporting events and whether they are a net positive for persons or a bread and circus act. I think they're both. For those of you who don't know, a bread and circus act is, to my understanding, something that's basically just like really superficial and like just popcorn munching, like it's dumb, that kind of thing, mindless. What comes to mind for me is that, to me, sports it has become a bread and circus act, especially with stuff like the NFL. It's really tricky. I think there's a line, but I don't think it's a hard line, because when you get to the point where rivalries affect your ability to be friends with somebody, and there are those people. Rachel is from New York. So what baseball team do you think she's going to support? The New York Yankees. Okay, so she has this new job, and somebody's a Red Sox fan, and they find out that she's a Yankees fan, and so the way that girl treated her, like, it's not like she was shitting on her or something, but it's like, the fact that you like this team and I like that team, therefore, like you're a little put off. It's like, Come on, dude. Come on. So it can go too far, but I think sports are at their best when they're at local and semi-local. I think they're really at their best when it's like city against city. You know, when you get state against state, it becomes divorced. Like there's nothing personal against that or in that equation, really. It's not like Nevada is going to have some beef with Pennsylvania. It's like, come on, dude. You'll get like border states, sure, but I guess I stop believing it when it's these big championships, the Super Bowl. It's like my idea is that the Super Bowl should only happen every 3 years, some arbitrary number. And the NFL, what do they call, or the NBA playoffs? I think they're called. I don't know. I don't follow basketball anymore, but I wonder what that would do because it feels like I don't know. I'm not really into sports that much, anyways. I really enjoy sports casually. I love watching rugby or hockey or even baseball. I found I actually really like watching baseball. Figure that. I'm a Yankees fan, though. I don't care for the Red Sox. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. And Justice for All. Dum dum. Dum dum dum. Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 dum. Okay. All right, we've gotten through our questions, and in an hour and 15 minutes to boot. Any other questions or ideas or talking points? We've kept a pretty good consistent number here. I'm pretty impressed. I guess one other thing I can talk about is oh, you like baseball? Name 3 of their albums. Name their first 3 albums. Says Balmore. Al says, how into Dungeons and Dragons are you? I never have gotten into Dungeons and Dragons, but I've always been very curious to play. Because it seems like Minecraft, but in your imagination. That's what my mind is. Minecraft, but this. It's like this. It's like Minecraft, but this. Sports is like Minecraft, only this. No, but it's like totally open and it's creative and it's a creative process. It's almost, it reminds me of like freestyle storytelling, and that's really appealing to me. And I have friends who do, well, I have acquaintances who do Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't feel they like me. I feel like they only have invited me because they want people to play with, and I have expressed interest in playing before. Believe it or not, people don't like me. Some people don't like me. Yeah. Jordan says, I've never played, but I feel you're wrong. Stacy says, you need to get in on Ancient Rome D&D campaign. If they have that, that would be interesting. Al says, I tend to think of D&D as collaborative storytelling. Yeah, that's what I was feeling. Yeah. Noah says, John making Minecraft parodies for his channel confirmed. Oh, man. That would be fun. That would be fun. We used to have this big server where like tons of people came and we had Minecraft wars. Like screw the dragon, we kill each other. We laid traps for each other. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. If I could ever go back to that, I would. We tried to last year. We tried to get another server started and it started out good. But I think we're just at a point in life where like people are kind of starting to drift off or something. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough growing up, man. It's tough growing up. You know what's really scary about growing up? Having a baby. Rachel and I are not yet attempting to make a baby, but it's something we're looking at trying to next month. No, we are not pregnant. We are not. But I want to be pregnant. I really want to. Um, Harley says he's making Rick and Morty fanfic. He was a pickle earlier. Hey, that's kind of a good segue into one of the last things I wanted to bring up, but we'll just keep riffing here for a minute. No, we're not pregnant. I want a baby. We have all the names picked out. Have I already told the names that we've picked out? I'll run through them. I don't even have kids yet, but I'm already the guy who's like, oh, here's my ugly son, here's my bucktooth daughter, and here is my little idiot baby. So the first two names we have picked out. We have four names. So the first kid we have, if it's a boy, will be named Harrison John Yelland. If it's a girl, we'll name her Hazel Terrapin Yelland. Harrison, that's a name that Rachel really liked, and finding a boy name that we agree on is tough, man. Because when it comes to girls, Rachel and I are like on the same page for names. But when it comes to boys, we are like oil and water. Because I'm like, Peter, no. Paul, no. Garrison, call him Gary, no. Alan, no. Gabriel, did I already say Gabriel? No. Earl, I know, no. Theophilus, no. Yeah. Harrison is Dexter's son in Dexter. Yeah, we came up with Harrison before that, though. The one name that we did have on the table that I really liked, though, was Henry. I really liked the name Henry because it's a family name for both of us, but for Rachel, she just was like, actually, there's way too many people in my family named Henry. Julius suggests Al. That name was brought up. Oh, Hector was another name that was brought up. And I liked Hector because, we were talking about Greek mythology earlier, and I'm like, Hector, dude. Hector of Troy? Come on, dude. Plus, that's like a proto-Greek, proto-Byzantine kind of thing because Hector, Troy was in Asia Minor, so whatever. But yeah, so we've got Hazel Terrapin Yelland and Harrison John Yelland. Yeah, two H names, but then the other follow-up names would be Judith Magnolia Yelland, Judith Judy Judicator, Judith Magnolia Yelland, and the other one, this is my favorite. This is one of the few names that I liked that Rachel actually liked too. Theodore Graham Yelland. Teddy Graham Yelland. Teddy Graham. Nice. Yeah, so we'd have, if we ever had four kids, they would be Hazel, Harrison, Theodore, or Teddy, and Judy, Teddy, Harry, and Hazel. But Hazel is an interesting name because it's kind of like Barbara, It's like the only Barbaras now are like Barbara Bush, what's her name? Barbara Walters. There's no more Barbarella. There's no more sexy Barbaras. My mom's name is Barbara. That's why I bring it up. It's an antiquated name that no cool people are named now. But Hazel is an antique name. But I think Hazel is ripe. Hazel's a good quality name. I feel good about Hazel. I think that would be a good name. Something interesting, we were actually talking about this, Rachel and I, the other day, and something we were talking about that was hilarious is, so you've got the new wave of like socialist politicians, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Squad, as they're called by those on the right, I guess. But just basically this like new wave of like, I don't know if they're millennial, maybe millennial politicians. It's like, okay, so, what we thought was funny was, okay, 20 years from now, are we going to have a congresswoman named Daenerys? Because you remember like when Game of Thrones was like really hot, like everybody was naming their children like Jon Snow and Khal Drogo and Daenerys. I just think it would be so funny that like, and here is Senator Daenerys Fitzgerald approaching the stand. Here we have Representative Jon Snow. I'm sorry, I think that's hilarious. Oh yeah, like Sons of Anarchy, and everybody's naming their boys Jax. It's like, oh gosh. See, that's part of why I really like the classic names, because they're not going out of style. They're always going to be like, Edward. Edward is a quality name. William, that is a quality name. Hazel, Harrison, Theodore, Judith. I like biblical names too. That probably comes as no surprise, but seriously, some good boys and girls in there. Ruth, I think is a good name. I like Ruth. Baby Ruth. Okay. I think we're about it. Last thing I'll say is it's kind of interesting. I think I'm going to delete them now, but we had this big fiasco on the last. All right, yeah. So there was one last thing that I want to talk about. We did have this kind of fiasco with the last video that I did, which was refuting great apostasy proof texts. As a refresher, because there may be some of you here who are not familiar, who didn't watch last episode and who are not familiar with what the great apostasy is. It's the idea that the true church that Christ built upon the apostles, whether it was gradual or whether there was a definite point in time, that church fell into apostasy. The valid keys of the priesthood were lost. The true church of Jesus Christ is no longer present, or it is now, because my denomination has restored it. And it's not just the LDS who believe in something either explicitly like this or pretty much implicitly. You've got all of these restoration denominations like Oneness Pentecostals, Mormons, Quakers to an extent, and even I would argue the Reformation in general. But anyways, so I did this video, this last Johncast, refuting great apostasy proof texts, and in it, basically just kind of went through like some of the proof texts that people used to defend the idea that there was a great apostasy, and showing them that really from scripture there's no indication that the church would ever be lost, that there would ever be a universal total apostasy. There's no scriptural indication. And so we just went through and dissected that. Now the whole reason I bring that up now is because this one guy actually two guys, commented with some of the most vitriolic, mean-spirited, angry stuff. Just these a-hole comments, man. And I deleted a lot of them. You know, there's only 4 comment threads here now, and I'm thinking I'm going to delete them just because they're so bad. But there's 4 of these comments, and all of these threads are just terrible. They're terrible. And it just got me thinking, because talking with this guy afterwards, because I ended up challenging him to a debate, because I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. I am not a doctor. I am not a great theologian like Alexander Schmemann or Vladimir Lasky. That's not me. I like to play at it. I like to, I really take it seriously, and I really care about it. But this guy is just being a dick. He's just being a dick. So I called him out on it. I'm like, all right, let's do a debate. And we'll see. I actually got his email. We'll see if he gets the balls to do it. But the whole point, the thing that struck me was like, I have really been making a concerted effort. And you can go back through the channel. I did a debate with somebody who is pro-life and atheist. I did a debate with an LDS person. on whether the Book of Mormon is authentic. And in all the ways that I talk about Mormons, there's no malice. When I talk about people, even when I talk about people from ideologies I strongly disagree about, I don't want to be your enemy. I may disagree with X, Y, and Z, but you are not my enemy. And so I try to be respectful. And this guy just was not having any of it. In fact, I was going to address some of what he said here, but I don't think I am. I think I might just delete the comments. It's a shit show. But the reason I brought that up is because I wanted to talk about just a little bit of something, because I'm almost done with my thesis, and I feel very strong about it. I feel very good about it. I feel very good about this thesis. But anywho, having been involved with apologetics and these interfaith groups, discussion groups. I was in the interfaith club for my bachelor's degree, and I've done lots of interfaith work, like serving the homeless and stuff like that. We can come together, even if you're atheists. Come serve the homeless, whatever. But I've noticed, by and large, it seems to me, the people who really care about this stuff, not all the time. I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but a lot of people are idiots, A lot of these people are, I'm sorry, on both sides, atheist and religious. Like, the people who get into these groups, a lot of them are idiots. Whether they're talking shit on God or talking shit on somebody else's denomination, these people are generally scum. I'm sorry. They're not scum. They're not scum. I take that back. They're low-level thinkers. And I am a low-level thinker. I'm not saying I'm above them necessarily. I want positivity. I want constructive, good dialogue. And so this whole thing kind of frustrated me. But it reminded me of a movie that I saw a couple years ago called The Most Hated Woman in America. And it was released in 2017, and it's about Madalyn Murray O'Hair, the outspoken activist and founder of American Atheists. And I did a little bit of looking into the movie because it's kind of an interesting story. And my recollection is that, by and large, it's a beat for beat, fairly true to life story of this woman, Madalyn. We'll just call her Madalyn rather than Murray O'Hair. Is that one of those hyphenated last names? I don't like hyphenated last names, because then if you're like Ocasio-Cortez and you're her daughter, it's like, then what are you going to be? Alexandria are you going to be Ocasio-Cortez Yelland, and then Ocasio-Cortez Yelland Henderson? Like, you got to cut it at some point. And then it's like the name doesn't even mean anything. So I don't know. That gets into weird gender stuff, like, should the woman take the man's name? Get your patriarchy off my back, man. But no, so the whole reason I brought up The Most Hated Woman in America is, it's interesting. This woman, Madalyn, she embezzled money. She wasn't a good person. She was not a good person. She embezzled. She was just a not good person. She was bitter, mean. You could argue that she fought for good causes, like separation of church and state. I don't believe in separation of church and state. I think it's a mirage. I think even if you claim to have a separation of church and state, you don't have a separation of worldview or ideology and state. And what's the difference? Where's the line? We kind of talked about that in our earlier podcast about harmony of church and state. So I'm not going to get into it now, but the point being is, I found it interesting in this movie. She forms this kind of frenemy relationship with this preacher or pastor, and they have these debates. And they both sort like saying, like, yeah, when you ripped up the Bible, do that again. That's great. That's going to get people donating money a lot. And she would do the same kind of thing. And so I guess the whole reason I bring that up is in light of the last podcast we did, the kind of division that this can spark is really sad. And I feel kind of guilty in a way for challenging this schmuck to a debate. I'll still do it if he delivers. I think he's a coward. I don't think he's going to do it. But I just don't like the way that we talk to each other. And I feel bad because I kind of fell into that. I think I will delete the comments on the video. So if any of you are curious and you want to go back and look at the interactions, I would say you've got 24 hours to do so. Because really, like, what I want to produce a variety of content, but I do want to produce theological and historical content. And I want to have debates. I want to have discussions, but I want to have them in a way that starts to change the way that we talk to each other. Because like we were talking about earlier too, 2016, that shit show of a election cycle. And it's kind of, it's not happening as much now. I think people are like, yeah, Trump's going to win. Okay, let's move on with our lives. But 2016 really showed me what we're capable of on the negative end of the spectrum for how we treat each other. And I was guilty of that too. And I want to change that. I want to be part of a new wave of positive discourse, you know? So the challenge will be if this guy does man up, step up to the plate and debate me on whether or not there was actually a great apostasy. If he does put on his big boy pants, see, and there I go. But if he does, all joking aside, I'm going to be very loving and professional and thoroughly prepared, but we'll see. Anyways, Al says, I think the core premise behind the separation of church and state, at least here in the US, is that people should be free to practice their own religions so long as that practice does not hurt anyone. Seeing that, I would definitely agree. Even in my own utopia, which would not have a separation of Orthodox church and state, I do not think that harmony of church and state needs to entail the extermination or, everybody should be free to practice what they want. And maybe we'll have to do another harmony or separation of church and state live stream. Anyways, I think that's about it for today. Is there anything else I have to say? Anything else you want to know? I'm going to X out of some of these windows here. Boy, howdy. I cannot wait for movie theaters to reopen. We've got a new Godzilla movie coming out this year. We got a new Ghostbusters movie coming out this year. It's going to be good. But I really hope we can get over this Corona crap. Anyways, anything else? This was fun. I'm glad you guys chimed in. This was a positive experience. I was a little bit worried because, Fridays are generally bad time to post content, to my understanding. So, all right, kings and queens, treat yourself as such. You are kings. You are queens. Act like it. Al says, I've been working on studying U.S. history, perhaps a discussion on the Constitution. That could be an interesting one. We'll see. We'll post up on Monday with some options for the next Johncast. But in the meantime, I agree with Noah. Good night, kings. Good night, queens. Treat yourselves as such. Act like the royalty you is. Have a good night.